Yo, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're taking a little bit of a break from talking about the pro scene to focus on us, the humble plebs, and talk about the game of CS and actually playing it for once. Because contrary to popular belief, I don't just spend all my time yapping about Counter-Strike, I do in fact play it, just not to a very good level. And during the whirlwind news cycle of Roster Mania over the last few weeks, I forgot to take some time and drop back and talk about the latest big update to the game. It seems we're getting a big update to CS2 roughly every month towards the end of the month, and hopefully that cadence continues. And this time we saw the introduction of some new community workshop maps into the competitive queue, Thera and Mills, as well as some huge adjustments to how competitive matchmaking works, the first time we've seen such changes since the launch of CS2. Now, veterans of the channel will know that I've made several videos at this point on how bad competitive is, the issues with the rule set, and why the game mode has been so far an objective failure, so I'm glad Valve are taking some time to address the feedback and make some great substantive changes to how this mode works to make it something that's worth playing on par with Premier. So in this latest update, not only did they do a massive readjustment of the current skill groups to disperse players out to where they should be in the skill brackets, they've also completely reworked the requirements to get ranked on every map. It now only takes 2 wins to get your initial rank instead of 10, bringing down the entire grind if you want to be ranked on a variety of maps substantially. But now we are faced with the eternal question: was this enough to move the needle? Is competitive actually worth your time? And does the game mode need further changes to be a worthwhile investment? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. So if that sounds interesting to you guys, make sure you take a second, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. It helps out immensely. While you're down there, consider becoming a channel member. For $5 a month, you can support me directly in what we do here, get access to videos like this the night before everyone else, as well as a shout out at the end of every video. And lastly, check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/LionHeartZ1337. I stream Sunday through Friday, 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll be live tonight playing Counter-Strike, so drop on by and say hello. And with that, let's get into the video. Okay, so one of my biggest criticisms when competitive first launched was that the 10-win requirement to get ranked was too high of a barrier to entry. The majority of players were only ever going to get ranked on maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of their favorite maps, and the vast majority of players were never going to get ranked, or if they did, they would get ranked once and then pretty much drop out of the playlist right away. There's already an issue of where players are going to spend their time right now because you have Premier, you have Face It, and you have Competitive. Which queue do you dedicate most of your time to? Premier is a seasonal ladder with instant feedback on your rank going up and down. It has a more robust rule set than competitive. Face It is the alternate ladder, completely community driven, offers potentially a better anti-cheat experience, while also having the same rule set that pro players play with, which is not all that different from Premier. And then you look to competitive, and it seems to be the odd man out, because not only is it an individual map queue, you have to get individually ranked on each map if you want to see progress. It doesn't give you instant feedback about where your rank is. You have no idea when you're going to get ranked up after your initial 10 wins. So what you end up with is most players treating competitive as more of a casual queue. They're not playing it in the same way they would play Premier or Face It, so it's not taken as seriously. Players aren't playing to get ranked, so you end up with a huge logjam. A lot of players are stuck in ranks they shouldn't be, so the quality of match goes down. And we can see this in the data. Courtesy of Leadify, they have rank distribution across all the game modes and all the maps since the game came out. And when you look at these distributions, they look awful. There were no global elites in the world several months after launch, up until this most recent update. And that directly has to do with how competitive distributes its players. It takes far too long to get ranked, it gets far too long to rank up after the fact, and when you have to do that for more than one map, player interest goes down. So now Valve have stepped in and manually redistributed the ranks. What we see after the update, again courtesy of Leadify, is a much more normal distribution curve. Something that aligns much more closely with what we had at the end of CSGO. Just again, we have a lack of global elites, SMFCs, etc. And that is going to come down to now a time investment. Because it's so much easier to get ranked, something we'll cover in just a moment, we are going to eventually have more players get out there and get to the global elite ranks they probably should have if we had a more normalized rank system. And with this redistribution has come to a much more even balancing of the game. I got much fewer games where I had either completely inexperienced teammates, or I was by far the strongest player in the lobby, or the other team having one extreme hyper carry just destroying everybody. The games in general felt more balanced, a lot more like the match quality we've been seeing in Premier lately. It's definitely helped make the playlist feel less random and more engaging to play, which will hopefully drive up the playtime, which in turn will lead to more people getting ranked moving into the skill brackets they belong. The match quality compounds on top of that, and you get more people moving to where they need to be. Eventually we'll actually have global elites, etc, etc. So the first part of the update, huge W. Rank distribution, huge success. Let's talk about the other side of the update, and that's the win requirement being lowered to just 2 wins. I think this is also an objective success with pretty much 0 drawbacks. Considering how many maps there are in play, if we had the 10-win rule still in play, if you just wanted to have a competitive rank on all of the active duty maps that are played in Premier, you would need 70 wins split across those 7 maps. Now again, let's keep in mind, you're not going to win every game, right? Just taking my personal stats, if we look at my Premier win percentage, I have 214 wins and 49% win rate. If we just extrapolated that straight to competitive, for the sake of numbers being clean, we're just going to make my win percentage 50%, I would need 140 games played just to have a rank on every active duty map. That is an insane requirement to ask of players who want to play more than just one map at a time. This is just an aside, but earlier on a few months ago, I wanted to start doing a series where I did a bunch of solo queue VOD review on my competitive games, seeing how high I could climb on the individual maps, but that series fell off because I realized I would have to play an insane amount of games every day just to get to a starting rank. So cutting down the requirement to 2 wins is a huge step in the right direction. It's going to be so much easier for the game to put players in the right skill bracket so the match quality stays high, and it's just going to be better feedback for the player because you're not waiting an ungodly amount of time to finally get that rank on Ancient because you keep queuing for Ancient, Dust 2, Mirage, and Inferno and only getting Dust 2. So it's undeniably a success, all the changes that were made to competitive with this update. But in totality, does that make competitive a good playlist, something that's actually worth your time to grind for? I would still say no, because I think there are core issues with how Valve have tried to do this game mode that will continue to hold it back. And the biggest one of those is by far the insistence on ranks being set to individual maps. Now, I understand that the goal was to differentiate competitive from Premier and make competitive more of a way to practice individual maps, but at the same time, you were calling it competitive. The intent is for it to be a competitive game mode. It holds all of the classic ranks from CSGO that many of us have been chasing for years. So many of us want to engage with competitive and make the drive for Global Elite, but then we start playing and our time is not respected because to get Global Elite on more than one map at a time is still pretty unreasonable. All of this culminates in a vibe to me of why should I play competitive when Premier is right there? Unless you're someone who just really hates the thought of having to play more than 1 or 2 maps and wants to just insta-spam queue Dust 2 all the time, I really don't see the point in playing competitive unless you just want something that's going to be more casual. It may be called competitive, but it will never be taken as seriously as Premier or Face It because of the way that the game mode is structured. And in the long term, I think it's only going to continue to become a bigger problem because I think it will continue to fracture the player base. We already have a split between Premier and competitive queue. There's also further splits between all of the maps in competitive. Obviously, some maps are more popular than others. People love to play Dust 2, Mirage, Nuke. That's it. So if you would like to play Anubis, Overpass, the new maps, Thera, Mills, Office, whatever, those queues only get longer and longer, especially depending on what time of the day you might be playing at. What bothers me most is it feels like the solution is really straightforward. Competitive should just be renamed to unranked, and all of these classic ranks, including the chase for Global Elite, should just be moved to Premier. We already know roughly what these ranks correlate to each other thanks to data from Leadify, and if we unite the 2 rankings, we would finally have a system that's pretty much like every other ranked competitive game in existence. You have your rank name, and then you have how many points you are within that sub-rank and how many you need to get to the next sub-rank. So for example, if you're someone who finds yourself in the 11,000 to 15k range, that roughly correlates to the Master Guardian ranks that we all know and love. And at that point, we've just solved one of CSGO's longest running issues, which is the lack of feedback at where you're at in relation to your next rank up. Premier solved that problem with the number system, so now let's just add the cool title on top of it, call it a day. And if you want to go play unranked now and practice Dust 2, you can go ahead and do that. It's meant to be more of a casual queue, but you have a hidden MMR in the background so the matches are still balanced. And there we go. We've added the 2 things that CSGO has been asking for years. Unranked matchmaking and better idea of where we are at on the ranked ladder. Boom, job's done, game's success. So all in all, I can't say it's a bad update. The quality of life has gone up immeasurably if you are going to actively play competitive, but in terms of the long-term health of the playlist, I still think there's a lot left to be done. Personally, I do think I will be playing it more than I did in the past, especially because as we get further along without a Premier ranked reset, I do think there's more incentive to go other places, because Premier is a specific experience and you may not always want to engage with it. The different rule set for competitive is valuable to have, so I want the playlist to be worth playing in the long run. But that is, of course, just my opinion. If you guys have had a chance to play competitive since the update, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll be in there talking and responding as always. And while you're down there, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This video was powered by Advanced GG. You can check them out, the link in the description. If you decide to make a purchase, you can use my code LIONS10 for 10% off at checkout. Shout out to them for helping me out and supporting the channel. If you too also want to support the channel, consider becoming a channel member. For $5 a month, you can support me directly. Shout out to my current channel members, Furley, Justin, Jesse, Bubblesj, and Dr. Cocktor. Thank you guys so much for keeping the lights on. Other than that, my name is LionHeartZ. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you soon with another video. Peace.